Hey, thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus on this warm Wednesday. I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and yes, it is back to summer for today on this August 30th with those temperatures. They'll get back in the low to mid 90s for this afternoon, and I think as we head into tomorrow, similar as well. Basically no storm chances. There's the slightest chance we see a gusty shower, maybe a bit of cloud cover this afternoon, but not too much of which to speak about. Friday looks to be the next day when we see some widespread showers and storms back into the picture. Still looking pretty green up into the high country. Boy, late August, and it still looks like that there at Loveland Ski Area on the left, and of course I-70 on the right, and then Fort Collins right now. Fair bit of sunshine overhead as well out there on the campus of Colorado State University. And one thing you might notice off in the distance, maybe a little bit of wildfire smoke and some ground ozone mixing into the picture. No air quality alert in place yet, but I would anticipate that air quality will go down for tomorrow in particular. Meantime, it looks pretty hot out there. That is the big story, and those temperatures on the hot side will be well into the 90s for this afternoon, so you'll be sweating bullets outside if you're outside for a prolonged period. Isolated gusty showers, I mentioned. I was weighing whether or not to even put this on there because it's just such a low chance, but I put it on there just because, I don't know, things seem this season to be just overperforming. Let's just leave it at that. Then some storms return for Friday. So, HD Doppler radar right now, statewide, it is quiet, and again, nothing of which to speak about at this point. That said, we had just enough monsoonal moisture today that we'll see one or two of these quick little gusty showers pop on up between about, say, 4 and 8 p.m. You can see that there just about, if you're squinting and you've been eating your carrots, there on the Palmer Divide, northern El Paso County there around Monument and maybe into the Rampart Range, west of Colorado Springs, and on down to the San Luis Valley. Maybe, again, one or two gusty showers, and maybe up by the Cheyenne Ridge into northern Weld County. Those would be the areas where, again, you could get, if you got one of these, what we're talking about would be a brief, maybe few raindrops in the windshield, some gusty wind. That'd probably be the main threat, maybe some lightning and some cloud cover. That would be pretty much all you're talking about if you get one of these. And again, 6 o'clock, look at that there in northern Weld County. That'd be along Highway 14 there in the National Grasslands out by Grover. Again, anything we'd see would be brief and low impact with some gusty winds, the main thing to watch out for. And that's pretty much it. Similar for tomorrow as well, by the way. But those temperatures, that's the story. Already in the 70s and 80s, Eastern Plains, 60s and 70s into the high and country. And for today, low to mid 90s, gusty shower possible north of town, mostly sunny conditions for us overhead as well. And those highs for today, 80s and 90s, Eastern Plains, 70s and 80s into the high country. For tonight, temperatures drop back to the low 60s. It's cool, it is comfortable, and that sunset, by the way, getting early and earlier, 7:33 sunset for tomorrow. Similar, maybe mid 90s for tomorrow, and mostly sunny skies. Breezy, a bit notably windier tomorrow. So it's gonna be like sticking your face inside of a hairdryer tomorrow with those winds up to about 20 miles an hour, 94 degrees. It's sunny. It's going to be just really hot and uncomfortable for today and tomorrow, well, around midday or so. And we'll be racking up those 90-degree days. We've got several more on the way. And I think we're going to get pretty close to getting that 30-year average number of 46 days. I have a feeling it looks like we're going to be trending pretty warm into September as well. And so I think we're going to add another maybe 10 to 15 90-degree days in the month of September. So again, we got some warmth on the way, and we'll see that continue. And for tomorrow, 90s, even low 100s on the Eastern Plains for tomorrow. Look at that number flip there in Pueblo. That was fun to see on screen. 70s and 80s into the high country, 97 in Grand Junction as well. For tomorrow, as mentioned, similar to today in terms of those storm chances, one or two of those gusty showers. That's about it. San Juan's, though, a bit more meaningful monsoonal moisture returns for tomorrow for our friends in southwest Colorado. And that eventually will work its way into the Front Range as well. And that'll be the next thing to kind of watch out for, is that Friday we could see some more widespread showers and storms. Until then, though, look at that. Statewide, that's a whole lot of goose eggs. Hardly anything rain-wise between now and Friday morning. So again, it's a dry couple days. It's warm as well. Isolated storms. Friday looks to have the best chance of seeing a storm. Saturday, Sunday, we see those storms sticking around. And then early part of next week, we're down into the low to mid 80s, and then we'll warm back up again as we get into the middle part of next week. Now, that's our weather here. I do want to give a mention, of course, to Hurricane Idalia, which made landfall in the northwestern part of Florida, in the Big Bend area of northwest Florida earlier on this morning, with maximum sustained winds of 125 miles an hour. That made it a high-end Category 3 hurricane. That's a major hurricane. By the way, this is the 10th major hurricane to make landfall on the Gulf coastline of the United States in the last 7 years. So we've had a lot of these big hurricanes in recent years, and this one, certainly a high-impact storm there in northwest Florida. I know there's been enormous storm surge in the northwest part of Florida. Steinhatchee, as well as Cedar Key, those areas have been very, very hard hit. And I'm sure, unfortunately, it's going to be a long cleanup process for those areas that have been directly impacted. One bit of good news, though, and going back to this, is the part of Florida that did get the direct hit from this, the lowest population part of coastal Florida. That said, I know there are people who live there, Appalachia Bay, I've been there, but again, this was a very close call for Tampa, St. Petersburg, as well as Tallahassee as well, but certainly a nasty, nasty storm as it came inland. And by the way, some pretty significant impacts for Tampa, St. Pete on north into Jacksonville. They're getting a pretty rough ride out there today. This storm will track off to the east. As it does so, one thing that the computer forecast models, by the way, you see St. George there on the right-hand side of your screen, that's Bermuda. And so this storm could eventually impact Bermuda. Just keep in mind, if you have weekend plans, if you're lucky enough to have weekend plans out in Bermuda, that this storm will reach there. But then one thing that some of the computer models are trying to hint at is this thing could kind of loop back around, do a little loop-de-loop, and try and work its way back towards the east coast of the United States by the early part of next week. We'll have to watch for that. It's a long ways out. But again, we may not be done with Idalia even by the time this moves out to sea. Normally, we're long done with that. But obviously, Hurricane Idalia, a big story for us, and we've been tracking it here at 9 News. Of course, no impacts to us here in Colorado, even indirect impacts, not really impacting our weather at all. It's way too far away for any of that. So top line takeaways, it's hot, and we've got maybe a gusty shower today and tomorrow. Friday, more widespread showers and storms, cools down for the early part of next week. We'll have meteorologist Lauren Robinson with another update coming up at 9 News at noon and at 2 p.m. here on 9 News Plus. Then we'll have Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin in at 4 and 5, and meteorologist Danielle Grant in at 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News Family Networks. Once again, I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.